All right, welcome back, everyone. Now we will have the first of 3 talks today about future adaptive optics projects at Gemini. Recall that earlier this week we heard about GPI-2 that will come to Gemini North as another adaptive optics development improvement in the near future for Gemini. First, we will hear from Gaetano Sivo, who at Gemini is the principal investigator of the Gemini North Adaptive Optics Project, regarding GNAO's progress in recent times and where it is headed in the near future. Gaetano, if you're able to share your screen, and I see you and see that you're unmuted, so perfect. Once you get your screen shared, please proceed.
Yes, thank you. So let me one slideshow from start. Okay, so can you see it well?
I see your title slide. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. So I will start off. So hello, everybody. And as Henry introduced, I will present the status of GNAO, that is our workhorse facility that we are currently designing and developing for Gemini North. Here. So the outline of this talk is I will present what GNAO is in that stands for Gemini North Adaptive Optics in a nutshell, and then introduce the science capabilities of this facility and present one science case example that we have developed with the science team. And then later, just after me, Suresh Sivananthan will actually present much deeper science case example that we can have once we couple a science instrument at the back end of this facility. And finally, give a few words of the system architecture that we are currently proposing. And to remind everybody, GNAO is a project that is currently within the GEMA award funded from the NSF. So the goals for GNAO is, so first, to revitalize the aging AO facility that we have at Gemini North, Altair. Use one of the world's best sites, arguably, for adaptive optics, that is Mauna Kea. And we want to support nightly queue operations using adaptive optics, meaning that on any given night that the conditions are allowed to do so, we'd like to use AO. And finally, also to support GEARMOS, that is a Canadian-built TMT Pathfinder instrument that you will have a presentation in a few minutes, and enable a path for adaptive secondary mirror facility also at Gemini North. That will be the last of the 3 AO talks that we'll have today by Paul Hurst. And we will be building this facility upon the legacy that we have acquired through GEMS along the past years. So scientifically, we want to support high spatial resolution, wide field near-infrared adaptive optics imaging and spectroscopy for multi-messenger and time domain astronomy, and also cosmology, stellar population, and the wide diverse science cases that we have been developing also in the era of James Webb and Rubin operation coming along. GNAO will have two principal AO modes available, and here I will briefly present the difference between the two. So we'll have on the right-hand side what we will call the wide field mode correction that GNAO will provide. So meaning that we will have access to the full AO technical field of view to acquire the guide stars. And what we will be doing is simply measuring the wavefront. And as you can see, you do not sense the entire volume of the telescope. This is why you get what we can call a good but still moderate and modest correction. But if you put the laser guide stars, and that's what you can see on the left-hand side, narrower together, then you start to sense the entire volume that you have above your telescope. And that allows you to sense the entire volume of turbulence and determine the correction that you'd like to apply to using the deformable mirror and get the correction that you want. And that's what we would call the narrow field mode in the case of GNAO, providing a laser tomography adaptive optics correction. So in a nutshell, GNAO, as I said, will have those 2 different modes, GLAO for the wide field and LTAO for the narrow field at Gemini North. It is strictly designed to currently feed imaging and spectroscopic instrument, and principally thinking of what I will call here the visiting/facility instrument Gyarmos, including an imager. But also we could think of using, because we can enable the capability of the GMOS red end part of the instrument, and use the near-infrared imager that we have in the South GSOI if needed. GNAO needs to deliver a wide field correction, as I said, using GLEO over the full 2 arc-minute AO technical field of view, and that is mostly for Gyarmos IFU's science, including the AMO-AO correction when needed, and imaging science cases using the large field of view available, that is here about 85 by 85 arc-second square. The second mode is that it needs to deliver, as I said, a narrow field correction provided by an LTO correction in an area of about 20 arc-second squared in the near-infrared, and that is to field the tiled IFU mode of Gyarmos that you can bring all 4 IFUs together to the center, and some high performance narrow field imaging within the LTAO area of a 20 by 20 arc-second square. And finally, as I said, all the developments currently being done is also to keep open future upgrade to the telescope that could be, for example, used with an adaptive secondary mirror on the current GLEO feasibility study. Where is GNAO in the current landscape? So on this plot, I did put only in the near-infrared the different facilities that we have all around the world. And the main message that I would like to highlight here is that on the narrow field science that we will be able to achieve is that we will bring Gemini up to the standard state-of-the-art narrow field AO performance that we can get on an 8-meter class telescope. And on the wide field area, because GNAO will be working on a 2 arc-minute field of view, so that's wide field, but still narrow enough in terms of AO when you have multi-laser systems. And thanks to the great conditions that we will have on Mauna Kea, the wide field mode of GNAO will be performing as good as what currently GEMS is capable of doing, but but once we add the MOAO corrections provided by Gyarmos on the IFUs, we will have unique high corrections on those field of regards of the 4 IFU. The science capabilities for GNAO. So as I said, we have developed the science cases, and mostly they are driven by the Gyarmos development that will be presented later, and with focusing on the Gyarmos spectroscopy and the Gyarmos imaging science cases. So that has been driving GNAO. And as I said, we can enable also some optical capabilities via the red end part of GMOS. So the entire science cases part of GNAO has been developed both in conjunction within Gemini NOIR Lab, but also with astronomers and scientists within the Gemini community and a partnership. So you can have here the list of the people that have been involved, but the list is not locked down at all. We are still recruiting, and if anyone is interested in joining the team and help the effort in developing this, please do not hesitate to contact us. And for example, we have members from almost all the partners of the Gemini partnerships, except currently Argentina and Brazil. And I am sure within the call we have some Argentinian and Brazilian scientists. So if you are interested, we would be very happy to work with you all. So Gyarmos, just in one slide, because Suresh will present the entire instrument in much more detail, is an AO-fed multi-object integral field spectrograph that also has an imager, and Gyarmos will be able to observe 4 objects spectroscopically at the same times. On top of it, each IFU will have on top an MOAO capability to improve the performance over the corrected field. And as I said, Gyarmos will have a near-infrared imager embedded into the instrument. So this instrument is really very well suited to address the majority of the GNAO science cases that we have been proposing. So where is GNAO currently versus with what we currently have at Gemini, both North and South, Altair and GEMS? So I would say that in summary, I will not go into the details of all those numbers, but in summary for the requirements, GNAO will be able to do as good as GEMS in terms of performance, and as easy to use as currently what Altair is. So it's a very good compromise. And then there is the narrow field mode that we have with LTEO that brings actually also an even higher level of performance, about the same level of sky coverage as GEMS, and as I said, very easy to use as well what Altair is with the current two nighttime staff that is currently needed to operate the telescope and the instrument. A better, one deeper look at the image quality requirement that we have, because that's what gives usually the idea of the capability of the instrument. So we have on the top side of this chart the performance that we will be able to achieve in wide field mode, so about 120 miles in K-band for the entire sky coverage that we're aiming, that is about 60% at the galactic pole. And in narrow field mode, we will have performance close to currently what GEMS is capable of doing in the very faint areas, and as good as any other or classical narrow field science, narrow field AO instruments are currently capable of developing. So the science cases, as I said, so for both, first for imaging, so with either wide or narrow field mode, we have high resolution imaging of solar system objects. So for example, monitoring the giant planets and their satellites, multiplicity and surface properties of icy small solar system bodies. The main point for GEMA and GNAO here per se is to also enable rapid response to transient events using AO, so to follow gamma ray burst, transient events in the area of Robin, and solar system transient events. And finally, high resolution imaging of nuclear star clusters that are very crowded fields. So having a good AO system here to resolve is important. So a flexible queue scheduling and simplified operation will enable AO-assisted time domain astronomy. Another example, in this case, here you're looking at a science case needed that do require narrow field AO science. So here, when we look at intermediate mass black holes, we know that they're missing link between stellar and supermassive black holes. So if you look at globular star clusters here, for example, we have many of them distributed around the galactic center, and such a survey is ideal for GEMOS because they're crowded targets and they're dusty. So you need infrared and you need AO. The massive bulge is have the intermassive black hole sphere of influence of about 3 arcseconds, so it will fit very well in the area, and this type of targets do fit well the GEMOS goal. Sorry, I missed it there. So in terms of the configuration, so to give simple numbers, so GNAO will be fed by two sodium star laser developed by manufactured by Toptica. Each laser will be split in two to feed and will then be feed each their own LLT to create the 4 laser guide star constellation on sky. The AO bench will then use those 4 laser guide star to feed the 4 laser guide star wavefront sensor adapted to the constellation that is needed for either wide field or narrow field mode. We will have one deformable mirror to apply the correction, and as little but effective optics as possible to increase reliability and especially throughput. I will skip this part due to lack of time. It's just the system architecture of the facility. So maybe here just to mention that we have those subsystems that are part of Genio. So we have the Laser Guide Star facility that takes into account laser and laser launch telescope and beam transfer optic. The system controller that connects all the parts together, the AO bench, that is the optomechanical part of the instrument, the real-time computer, and finally Gearmouse that is not within Genio, but still is the main facility instrument that we'll be using. So let's skip this. Where we are currently, so we have the adaptive optics bench request for proposal that is planned to be released at the end of September. It will be a two-phase procurement. So the phase A is currently planned to start around May of 2022. It will be a competitive phase to reach conceptual design, and then a down select to one single vendor to start phase B, that is from preliminary design down to first light about 1 year after. In terms of the different work packages, the laser launch telescope are moving toward critical design. The LGSF and the RTC are both currently moving toward building. And in terms of timeline, we're aiming currently first light for Genio in the fiscal year 2028. So in conclusion, Genio, we have made significant progress since the conceptual design review. The all RTC, laser launch telescope, Toptica, the Toptica laser are all secured procurement. We have developed science cases, scope, requirement, concept of operation. Everything has been fleshed out and signed off for the Genio facility as a whole. And we do strongly believe that having a GLEO and a flexible, versatile GLEO LTE system on Mauna Kea will allow us to meet the performance needs that we have to feed Gearmouse both for spectroscopy and imaging. Thank you.
Thanks, Gaetano. That's excellent. Let's see. I don't see any questions in the chat.
Check.
Yeah, I'm not seeing any there right now. So do you have a personal favorite among the science cases that you're most excited to see us accomplish with this?
Me, yes, I'd say, but mostly because I'm also coming from GEM, so I do like very crowded field and so when we look at globular clusters, so that may be one of the reasons I did show this example. I think it would be good to show that we can, as I said, we can reach the same performance level as GEMS, but with an easier system to use, we can get a better accuracy. And that would be an interesting result to obtain. But then anything, as I said, we have a long list of different flavors of science we can do, and I am sure the entire community would find its interest.
Yes. Excellent. Well, if anybody thinks of a question, please feel free to enter it in the chat. Gaetano,
Yes,
I know
please.
others can address it later after the session and continue the conversation there. So thank you, Gaetano. If you could, you're unsharing.
Sure.
Thank you.